Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Israel Wake Up. This is our evening Sabbath class. Uh, close out the Sabbath, the 13th of August, 2022. We are still dealing with the book of Samuel, 2 Samuel. I'm asking everybody to like, share, and subscribe to Prophets Awakening and Israel Wake Up channels, and hit the notification button. Please, if you can. This is a non-Messianic channel. For those that don't know, we deal with the Tanakh, which is the Old Testament, so-called Book of the Remembrance, and we deal with the Torah, the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai by the Lord of Hosts. So shalom and welcome to this Israel Wake Up channel, and welcome to our evening Sabbath class. We're going to do our normal, which is moment of silence, prayer, psalms, concurrent events, a little need to know information. Then we'll go into a little Q&A session, with hopes to have some questions and comments and a little dialogue. Then we're going to the reading of the and discussing of the scriptures, which is the book of 2 Samuel. Okay, so this moment of silence is for the Lord of Hosts and all that they're doing to bring about our deliverance, prophesied deliverance from our oppressors. That we've been under since for the last 2,500 years, especially the last 400, pertaining to the transatlantic slave trade. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belong unto thee. Therefore we come before thee at this hour, seeking thy face and looking for righteousness, that we may walk before thee as thy servants David and Solomon, Samuel and Hezekiah did, that we may walk before thee in truth and in righteousness and in rightness of heart. Give unto us, O Lord, an understanding heart, that we may discern between good and bad. For you possess the power to turn us, O Lord. For we desire to walk after thee, O Lord, and to keep your commandments and your testimony and your statutes with all our heart and soul, to perform the words of this covenant that was written down by your prophets. O Lord, allow thy face to shine upon thy people. Hear our plea, hear and do, O Lord, and hide not thy face from us, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay. With that being said, these are those songs. Okay. So, this is Psalm 64, and it's a plot and punishment. It's a song of David. Hear my voice, O God. In my prayer, preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, and from instructions of the workers of iniquity, who with their tongues like a sword, and with their tongues like a sword, and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter ones, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him, and fear not. They encourage themselves in all evil matters. They commune of lying snares privately. They say, who shall see them? They search out iniquity. They accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thoughts of every one of them and the heart is deep. But God shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded. So they shall make their own tongue to fail upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away, and all men shall fear and shall declare the works of God, for they shall wisely consider of his doings. The righteous shall be glad in the Lord, and shall trust in him, and all upright in heart shall glory. Okay, so that was Psalm 64. Got any comments on that? Okay. So with that being said, we're gonna move forward to our current events. Okay. We're gonna go with just my hair first.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be sharing a story with you that is very, very disturbing. We have seen these kind of things throughout the history of America, and they just continue to this day. They continue to this day. Right now, some Tennessee cops are under investigation for beating a black man bloody after a simple traffic stop, y'all. Okay. I'm not going to share the particular article because the images are graphic. So I'm going to just read through it without actually showing you the images because they would definitely be flagged. So I do have the image that's on the screen here that is censored due to the bloody nature of the victim's face. Okay. So we are going to get into this. Um, Authorities investigate Tennessee cops after a black man by the name of Brandon Calloway was beaten after a traffic stop. Okay, disturbing video shows cops beating and tasing this young man in Tennessee, leaving him bloodied and in need of stitches after he allegedly ran a stop sign. Now, authorities are investigating cops' use of force in the arrest of Brandon Calloway, 25, who who they claim refused to pull over for Oakland Police Department officers after they spotted him blowing or going through a stop sign. Okay, I noticed how they put the word blowing a stop sign in the article. There are certain trigger words. If you do some research on how they write these articles, depending on who the suspect is or the victim is, they will word things a certain way. So when you say blowing a stop sign, it sounds a lot different than it would if you said running a stop sign. Okay, they use these impact words to kind of sway the minds of readers right away. So in the case of this young black male, they're going to call it blowing a stop sign instead of running a stop sign or going through a stop sign to make it seem like it's something so much worse than what it is. Okay. So they claim that he sped away. Okay. Doing 35 miles an hour in a 20-mile-an-hour zone. This is what cops said in an affidavit. They said he eventually exited his car and ran into his house in Oakland. So it sounds to me like this young man was trying to get home because cops were pursuing him. I'm going to add this commentary into the video as I'm reading the article because it's important to know how they set the stage for things. Again, they write articles a certain way when they're dealing with certain people. So they want to make it seem like he sped away. How far did he go? Because he was already in his neighborhood. Did he go 1 or 2 blocks, or what happened? Did you say he sped away? Was he already on his block, and he just merely proceeded to his house, and he went into his house because he was afraid of the cops? In which, in this case, his fear is validated. His fear, he was right to be afraid. A lot of times there's this idea that black people are supposed to just be act very calm around cops. They're afraid because there's a history in this country of cops going overboard when it comes to black people. There's another story that just surfaced where they did this to a child, 11 years old, you see. So it's not that sometimes people are not just merely trying to flee the cops. Sometimes they are just afraid for their lives because they can lose their lives for something as simple as running through a stop sign, you see. So um, let's get into this even more. It says video that was recorded by Calloway's loved ones begins with uniformed officers bursting through their front door in pursuit of Calloway. A woman could be heard screaming hysterically, "Stop, stop! Brandon, stop hitting him!" Okay, then one officer deploys his stun gun against Calloway, who tries to hide behind a leather couch before running downstairs. So he was trying to hide because he's scared, y'all. Again, I can't show you the images because they're way too graphic. Okay, the cops follow the man with the female witness shouting, "Why are you chasing and hitting him? He has no weapon." Okay, the woman accuses the cop of being aggressive and warns them that she is recording their actions. The officers eventually corner Calloway in a rear bedroom, and the witness urges him to stop resisting and get on the ground. Okay, and she says stop resisting because she don't want her loved one killed. She knows that they're already being aggressive, that they're there for blood. So she's just basically saying, just get on the ground, calm down, right? She's trying to diffuse the situation because they escalated the situation because this young man ran a stop sign.
Okay. Any comments on that? Okay. No comments. It's just another cop situation. This is the norm nowadays. Okay. We're gonna go to Sabbath article I got. Right, I got an article right here, and it says that uh, top lawmakers seek intelligent assessment of documents from Mar-a-Lago. So the House Democrats' top investigator on Saturday asked the Director of National Intelligence to conduct a review and damage assessment of boxes of highly classified information seized by the FBI this week from former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. Okay, it says the letter sent to the National Intelligence Director Avriel Haines by the House Oversight Chairman Carolyn B. Maloney, Democrat from New York, and House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence Chairman Adam B. Swift, the Democrat from California, and the cities and cites the search warrant uh, cataloging the classified documents of various levels of sensitivity found at Mar-a-Lago. Former President Trump conduct has potentially put our national security at grave risk. The two wrote asking also for a classified briefing on the assessment as soon as possible. This issue demands a full review in addition to the ongoing law enforcement inquiry. The two also voiced concerns that the FBI is looking in part at highly classified documents related to nuclear weapons, as first reported by the Washington Post. If this report is true, it is hard to overstate the national security danger that could emanate from the reckless decision to remove and obtain this material, the letter states. On Monday, the FBI executed a court-authorized search warrant at Trump's Florida home and removed around 20 boxes of documents, including various classified TS and SCI documents, according to a written inventory that translates to top secret, sensitive compartment information, a highly classified category of government secrets, and top secret papers. So you won't be hearing the last of that, believe me. Okay. Any comments on that? Okay. Got some need to know information right here.
You might not even know it, but there's really only one thing that gives the US dollar power power on the world stage today. Some call it black gold or even dinosaur juice, but to most of us, it's simply known as oil. Oil is what makes the world go round, and it's considered to be the most valuable commodity on Earth. But there's a massive change on the horizon for oil, something that involves three of the world's most powerful leaders. And it's an event that may result in the collapse and death of the US dollar. Most of us have something to do with the US dollar. We either earn it or we use things to buy online with it. But if neither of these things are actually true, most of the world's countries do use the US dollar to trade. And in some form or another, it is linked to oil. So I will be talking today about how oil is responsible for giving the US dollar power over the last 50 years and how just last week, US's dollar power over oil is starting to dwindle and how this might affect life on Earth for all of us. So before I get any further, we have an amazing newsletter. People love it. If you want to know what the buzz is all about, there's a link in bio. In a moment, I'm going to talk about the big event that is happening right now that might lead to the crash of the US dollar. However, before I get into that, I want to look back at the history of the dollar and oil. I've spoken about this on the channel before, but in the past, the US dollar used to get its power from gold. Every US dollar that was circulating around the world had to be backed up by an equal amount of gold in American vaults. But in 1971, President Richard Nixon took the US dollar off the gold standard. There were a lot of very diplomatic reasons Nixon said as to why this happened, but many people believe that the real reason was that the US was simply running out of gold. Most people point to this time as the very last time that the US dollar was linked to anything real, but this is not exactly true because just 2 years after the US left the gold standard, it was linked to something even more valuable, something that the world relies on. And that thing is oil. In 1973, the Yom Kippur War was fought between Israel and a group of Arab nations. Israel won the war, but afterwards, the nations on the other side wanted to punish the countries that supported Israel. At the time, Saudi Arabia was the leader of OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, and they decided to put an embargo on nations that supported Israel in the war and to stop selling them oil. Countries like Canada, the United Kingdom, Japan, and the United States. Because of how much oil was exported from the Middle East, this caused global oil prices to skyrocket. The cost of oil went up by 300% and caused the start of a massive global oil crisis. So hopefully this illustrates the point of how much power oil-producing countries have over the rest of the world and how quickly the state of the world can change with just one single decision. Now, after the oil crisis started in the 1970s, the United States decided it needed to do something to stabilize the price of oil. And so it started its discussions with Saudi Arabia to end the crisis. In 1974, the United States struck a deal with the Saudis. The deal included a guarantee that the US would provide security to the nation and sell them even more weapons. But the US got something even more valuable in return. To encourage stability in oil prices, Saudi Arabia agreed to conduct all their oil trade in the US dollar. And very soon, almost every other oil exporting country on the planet started doing the same. Today, more than 80% of all oil traded on the planet is done in the US dollar, and this is because of the deal that was struck between Saudi Arabia and America in the 1970s. This has resulted in the oil economy being quite stable over the last 50 years, and it's also given the US immense financial power because of the billions of dollars that have to be traded in that currency. However, it seems that this part of the US's financial security is about to disappear, and for the most part, one man is responsible for it all. Fast forward. There are only 7 nations on Earth that are considered to be absolute monarchies, places where there is no democracy, there is no voting, and the entire country is controlled by a royal family. Saudi Arabia is one of those countries. The House of Saud, otherwise known as the Saudis' royal family, entirely controls the country of Saudi Arabia. And not only that, they're estimated to be the richest family in the entire world, with the net worth being over $1.4 trillion. That's around 16 times more more than the net worth of the British royal family. And when it comes to controlling that wealth, it really comes down to just one man. Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud, otherwise known as MBS, is the crown prince of Saudi Arabia. Although he's not yet king, he's basically ruling the entire country in place of his father, King Salman. MBS holds complete power over almost everything in Saudi Arabia, and he doesn't really have to ask anyone's permission to make decisions for the country's future. But what's most important for the sake of this story is that he controls the nation's money, both the Saudi's National Wealth Fund as well as Aramco, the producer of the nation's oil. Basically, if MBS wants to make a decision to change how Saudi Arabia does business with the rest of the world, he can do that. And it seems he is about to do that with oil. And if he does, it's not just going to change Saudi Arabia's relationship with the world. It's going to do a lot more than that, and it could result in a complete collapse of the US dollar. Now, before I talk about how this could happen, I'm just going to thank today's sponsor, and that is FTX. A part of my diversification strategy for growing my wealth is to invest in cryptocurrency, and recently I turned to FTX as my preferred way of doing so. One of the biggest problems of buying crypto online is the massive fees that you hit with when you buy on a lot of the major exchanges. In some cases, I've been hit by fees as large as 5% of what I'm investing. But that's not the issue at all when I'm investing with FTX. Via the FTX app, you can buy and sell crypto and NFTs with absolutely no fees. Not only that, but by using the FTX app, you'll also earn free crypto on every trade you make over $10. One of the fantastic things about FTX is that I can actually set up recurring investments. I can simply choose an amount of money I'd like to invest, and the app will automatically buy crypto for me at predetermined intervals I choose. For example, every day, every week, every month. With FTX, you can also get a crypto debit card, and there are also trading platforms for more advanced traders. Over 6 million people trust FTX to buy, sell, and hold crypto, and it's available for both US customers and people from around the world. If you'd like to get started today to build your crypto portfolio with FTX, there is a link down below. Okay, so let's talk about the big change in global oil and money that could be happening right now. Because most of the world's trade in oil is currently happening in the US dollar, this gives the currency an immense amount of power, and that is why sometimes the US dollar is referred to as the petrodollar. However, some recent news might be showing us that the US is about to lose this power in a big way. China is currently the second largest consumer of oil on the planet. But like everybody else, they still have to buy their oil in the US dollar. For China, this isn't ideal. Because the United States is their biggest competitor on the world stage, being forced to buy oil in dollars means they're giving power to their main rival. But that might not last for that much longer, because only a few days ago, it was announced that Saudi Arabia is considering not forcing China to buy oil in the US dollars. Instead, they may soon be able to buy it in their own currency, the yuan. I can't overstate how huge this would be if this happens. If Saudi Arabia allows China to buy oil in the yuan, it would seriously devalue the US dollar and diminish its power on the world stage. And also, it would put so much more faith and power in the Chinese currency as well. In fact, it's already doing that, because even the recent news of these talks taking place has caused the yuan to increase in value. History also shows that most of the world's oil producers follow in Saudi Arabia's footsteps. So if they allow for a different currency, the rest would probably too. And this could start a domino effect, essentially taking away the last thing that is giving the US global value. In short, this is probably the beginning of the end of the US dollar. Just last week, I published a video about how the financial empire of the United States is already in decline. Now, if you haven't seen that video, there is a link down below. I didn't think that things could get worse for the United States dollar. However, it seems I was wrong, because if the world does disconnect the US dollar from oil, it means that the US dollar will be severely devalued. And so if your assets or cash are in USD, or if your business is all done in USD, it could mean up ahead some bad times. If the US dollar does collapse as a result of the new moves in oil, what are some things that you could do? This is not financial advice. This is just some food for thought. But personally for myself, I believe having all your eggs in one basket is a pretty dangerous idea. So over the years, I've tried to diversify my cash and putting it in multiple currencies in multiple places around the world. Because if there is a collapse of a currency, I'll still be okay, because my other assets hopefully are still holding value. So if I did have all my money in the US dollar right now, I would be considering changing that a little bit, and I would be looking at diversifying into different currencies, potentially the euro, the pound, maybe even the Chinese yuan. I also diversify into different forms of cash. So cryptocurrency, for example, or precious metals such as gold and silver, which have been money for thousands of years. Sure, you and I, we've spent most of our lives in a time where the US dollar was the almighty and it was the most trusted currency on the planet, but things always shift and change, and it seems that that is on the horizon for us as well. And so simply, we need to be ready to adapt with the changing times. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this,
Okay, that was a little need to know information. Anybody got any comments on it?
Shalom. I think we know it's that the dollar is already crashing. You know, it's gonna speed up soon. I think it's gonna crash faster, right?
Right. If they do this, yeah, it definitely is.
Right, exactly.
Right. Exactly.
Just a matter of when, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
It's gonna be immediate if he do that, which you know, based on his track record, he's gonna do it. You know, and then it's like I said, all this stuff is prophesied. Okay, so yeah, these people have a problem with the United States, their arrogance. Like for example, what Nancy Pelosi done in Taiwan. Okay, so they're not making it no better with their action. Okay, so with that being said, I was going to open it up for some Q&A. Anybody got any questions or comments about anything that we talked about this morning on the other classes during the week, or something they came across on while they was doing their research? Okay, I got this right here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play a little bit of it. It's some real valuable information. I think that everybody should check it out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play bits of it, and then but I'm gonna go all the way in because I'm gonna give everybody a chance to watch it. We're gonna go back on our advanced Bible study on Tuesday night and go completely over it. So before we get started, the name of it is let me get it. It's the Canaan Baal. Who are the Canaanites, and what are their role, or what's the role? What role do they play? Okay, so I'm gonna play a little bit of it, but like I said, you can go watch it, and I'll get it posted on our website for people if they don't remember what I'm saying. Okay, let me get it.
Within the story of Nuh alayhi salam, that Nuh alayhi salam cursed his son Ham, okay, and his descendants are black as a result. Actually, the story actually is that Ham was also white, but when Nuh cursed him, to make it actually worse, when Nuh cursed him, his children became black. So all black people descend from the son that Nuh alayhi salam cursed. They're doomed to slavery. They're doomed to destruction. This is biblical. It's not Islamic.
And that's until today they slaves. All the history, one word of Noah, they slave until now for 4,200 years since he cursed them. And that's until today they slaves. All the history, one word of Noah, they slave until now for 4,200 years since he cursed them.
Egyptian, think about how their skin is, and the black people from Africa. And then a lot of Spain people, oh yeah, believe it or not, a lot of people around the world start giving American people too. They went to Africa, buy those African people, black people. And Spain, like I told you, Cristobal Colon, they both South African and took it to Cuba.
I want to tell the truth about the curse of Ham. Now, there are some religious, but yet racist, white groups that teach that the black people are cursed to be slaves in servitude to white people due to a sin that Ham committed. They claim that Ham is cursed because of supposedly sodomizing his father Noah. And they say this terrible and shameful act took place in the Bible, in the book of Genesis. So what I want to do is tell the truth about the curse of Ham. These racist, religious white groups actually teach that God cursed the black race by cursing Ham. But if you look at that scripture, God did not curse anybody there. There was no curse by God. The curse was by Noah, not God. And in addition to that, Noah did not curse Ham. He cursed Canaan.
Now, some people try to claim that Ham molested his father sexually. Others suggest that seeing his father's nakedness is a euphemism for committing incest with his mother while his father Noah was drunk. Well, that might make for some sensational story, but Ham doesn't have a sexual problem here. He's got a spiritual problem. Now, remember, Noah is the patriarch and high priest of this family. So when Noah learns that Ham has essentially openly mocked him, mocking God, he knows that in reality, this is deeper than mockery. This is spiritual apostasy. And Noah delivers a prophecy in the form of a curse on Ham's son, Canaan. Now, I've got to tell you, this curse has been taken out of context by many people over the centuries to claim that the people of African descent were cursed by God with slavery. Nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, all you have to do is read the verse. It's on Ham's son, Canaan. And the African nations didn't descend from Canaan. Noah is prophesying the future of Canaan's descendants. And who are they? The Canaanites.
Anybody got any comments on anything before we move on? We're not gonna be on it that long. Okay, so like I said, check that video out, and we're gonna go in on it on Tuesday. So we're at the point now where we're gonna do our Bible reading and our Bible discussion. We're still dealing with Second Samuel. And for the Sabbath class, we kind of went all in on 2 Samuel chapter 11, which has a lot of information in it. But we're going to pick that up. Let me get it. Okay. Okay, so now we're in chapter 13. Then chapter 13. I'm going to read it. Let me get my glasses. Glasses tripping on me. Okay. Okay. Here we go. It says, and it came to pass after this that Absalom, the son of David, had a fair sister whose name was Tamar, and Amon, the son of David, loved her. And Amon was so vexed that he fell sick for his sister Tamar, for she was a virgin, and Amnon thought it hard for him to do anything to her. But Amnon had a friend whose name was Jonadab, the son of Shema, David's brother, and Jonadab was a very subtle man. And he said unto him, why art thou, being the king's son, lean from day to day, wilt thou not tell me? And Amon said unto him, I love Tamar, my sister, Absalom's sister. And Jonadab said unto him, lay thee down on thy bed, and make thyself sick. And when thy father cometh to see thee, say unto him, I pray thee, let my sister Tamar come, and give me meat, and dress the meat in my sight, that I may see it, and eat it at her hand. So Amon lay down and made himself sick. And when the king was come to see him, Amon said unto the king, I pray thee, let Tamar, my sister, come and make me a couple of cakes in my sight, that I may eat at her hand. Then David sent him to Tamar, saying, sent her. Let me see. Then David sent home to Tamar, saying, go now to thy brother Amon's house and dress him meat. So Tamar went to her brother Amon's house, and he was laid down, and she took flour and kneaded it and made cakes in his sight, and did bake the cakes. And she took a pan and poured them out before him, but he refused to eat. And Amon said, have out all the men from me, that they went out every man from him. And Amon said unto Tamar, bring the meat into the chamber, that I may eat of thine hand. And Tamar took the cakes which she had made, and brought them into the chamber of Amon, her brother. And when she had brought them in unto him to eat, he took her and said unto her, come be with me, come lie with me, my sister. And she answered him, nay, my brother, do not force me, for no such thing ought to be done in Israel. Do not thou this folly, and I whither shall I cause my shame to go? And as for thee, thou shalt be as one of the fools in Israel. Now therefore I pray thee, speak unto the king, for he will not withhold me from thee. Howbeit he would not hearken unto her voice, but being stronger than she, forced her and lied with her. Then Amon hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred wherewith he hated her was greater than the love wherewith he loved her. And Amon said unto her, arise, be gone. And she said unto him, there is no cause. This evil is sending me away is greater than the other which thou didst unto me. But he would not hearken unto her. Then he called his servants that ministered unto him, and said, put now this woman out from me, and bolt the door after her. And she had a garment of divers colors upon her, for with such a robe was the king's daughter. Okay, the daughters that were virgins are apparel. Then his servant brought her out and bolted the door after her, and Tamar put ashes on her head and rent her garment of divers colors that was on her, and laid her hand on her head, and went on crying. Okay. And Absalom, her brother, said unto her, Hath Amon thy brother been with thee? But hold now thy peace, my sister. He is thy brother. Regard not this thing. So Tamar remained desolate in her brother's Amon's house. But when King David heard of all these things, he was very wroth. And Absalom spake unto his brother Amon, neither good nor bad, for Absalom hated Amon, because he had forced his sister Tamar. And it was, when it came to pass after 2 full years, that Absalom had sheep bearers in Baal-Hazor, which is beside Ephraim. And Absalom invited all the king's sons. Excuse me. And Absalom came to the king and said, Behold, now thy servants have sheep bearers. Let the king, I beseech thee, and his servants go with thy servant. And the king said to Absalom, Nay, my son, let us not all now go, lest we be chargeable unto thee. And he pressed him, howbeit he would not go, but bless him. And then said Absalom, If not, I pray thee, let my brother Amon go with us. And the king said unto him, Why should he go with thee? But Absalom pressed him that he let Amon and all the king's sons go with him. Now Absalom had commanded his servants, saying, Mark ye now, when Amon's heart is merry with wine, and when I say unto you, smite Amon, then kill him. Fear not, have not I commanded you? Be courageous and be valiant. And the servants of Absalom did unto Amon as Absalom had commanded. Then all the king's sons arose, and every man got him up upon the mule and fled. And it came to pass, while they were in the way, the tidings came to David, saying, Absalom hath slain all the king's sons, and there is not one of them left. Then King David arose and tore his garment and laid on the earth, and all his servants stood by him there, stood by with their clothes rent. And Jonadab, the son of Shimei, David's brother, answered and said, Let not my lord suppose that they have slain all the young men of the king's son. For Amon only is dead. For by this appointment of Absalom, this have been determined from the day that he forced his sister Tamar. Now therefore, let not my lord, the king, take the thing to his heart, to think that all the king's sons are dead, for Amon only is dead. Okay, 34. But Absalom, okay, say, for Absalom fled, and the young men that kept the watch lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, there came much people by the way of the hillside behind him. And Jonadab said unto the king, Behold, king's sons can't come, as thy servant said. So it is. And it came to pass, as soon as he had made an end of speaking, that behold, the king's sons came and lifted up their voice and wept. And the king also and all his servants wept very sore. But Absalom fled and went to Tamala, the son of Aminahad, king of Gehar. And David mourned for his son every day. So Absalom fled and went to Geshur, and was there 3 years. And the soul of David longed to go forth unto Absalom, for he was confident concerning Amon, seeing he was dead. Okay, so like I was telling you before about the Lord of Hosts, and what his role is in goings on in heaven and earth, right? He told David, what we read in chapter 11, the action of David too, pertaining to Uriah. he disrespected Uriah. He slept with his wife, then he turned around and called him to try to get him to go to his house to sleep with her so he can cover up his tracks. And when Uriah remained faithful to Israel and to him, he gave him a letter to go take to Joab to have, and the letter contained his death in it. But he got Uriah toting the letter. Well, look what just happened. And the Most High told him that he was going to, because of his actions, the sword was going to be in his house. So, like I told you, one of the Lord host's characteristics is that he brings recompense. And so, recompense is exactly what you done gonna come right back on you. You think you done did some wicked ass stuff and thinking that you're looking for a blessing and you praying for a blessing. Recompense coming. You might get a blessing after that, but recompense coming. So, we see right here. Let's look at it. So it says in we start out in chapter 13. It says, and it came to pass after this that Absalom, the son of David, had a fair sister whose name was Tamar, and Amon, the son of David's son, loved her, and Amon was vexed. Check it out. Amon was so vexed that he fell sick for his sister Tamar, for she was a virgin, and Amon thought it hard for him to do anything to her. So see, he, like I said, these Israelites, he raised by David. He's come out of David's house. He got David's blood in him. He had no intention on doing nothing. He was vexed by her, and he was overwhelmed by her appearance and all that, because you got to imagine what she looked like because of Absalom, the way Absalom looked, the described Absalom looked. They got the same mother and father. So then it says, but look what happened. And Amon was, so I read that. 3. But Amon had a friend. See that? Amon had a friend whose name was Jonadab. Look at this, the son of Shema, David's brother. So this David's nephew, right? And Jonadab was very subtle. That's why the serpent was subtle, right? You know what he done? Okay, then verse 4. And he said unto him, why art thou being the king's son lean from day to day? Wilt thou not tell me? And Amon said unto him, I love Tamar, my brother, Absalom's sister, right? Now look what Jonadab do. Jonadab said unto him, lie down on thy bed and make thyself sick. Remember what we saw with David, right? Got up out his bed and walked on the rooftop, saw Bathsheba. He says, lie down in thy bed and make thyself sick. And when thy father cometh to see thee, say unto him, I pray thee, let my sister Tamar come and give me meat and dress the meat in my sight. See, you already see right here. David should have peeped this out. This clown got sexual connotations on him. He says, I pray thee, let my sister Tamar give me meat and dress the meat in my sight. See that? Come on. That I may see it and eat it at her hands. Come on now. 6. And so Amon lay down and made himself sick. And when the king was come to see him, Amon said unto the king, I pray thee, let Tamar my sister come and make me a couple of cakes in my sight, that I may eat at her hand. Then David sent home to Tamar, saying, go now to thy brother Absalom's, Amon's house and dress him. So we just read what happened. So he ended up strong on her and raping her. And then after he raped her, now all of a sudden, now he hated her. So he put her out his room and locked the door. Okay? So the person that instigated all this right here is in verse 3. Says, Amon had a friend called Jonadab. That's right. So Jonadab behind it. He the culprit. He the one to wind him up. Right? So let's look at it. Now, if all this had happened, and Absalom came later and set him up and killed him, right? So let's pick it up when Absalom killed him. It says, let me get it. It says, 28. Now Absalom had commanded his servants, saying, mark ye now, when Amon's heart is merry with wine, and when I say unto you, smite Amon, then kill him, fear not. I have not. Have I not commanded thee? Commanded you, be courageous and be valiant. He's saying that because he got a certain amount of sway over David. You see how he just coerced David to bring his sons. David already knows some issues going on with him, but he pressed David and called David to allow them to come. So you say, what are you talking about? Well, that's what David did with Joab. He pressed Joab to do that wicked act that he done. Like I said, it's recompense. Most High precise. So 29, and the servants of Absalom did unto Amon as Absalom had commanded. Then all the king's sons arose, every man got he up upon his mule and fled. So right here, I want to shine a light on this. That's a white mule. So this was the story with JC riding on a mule. All that come from this. So king's sons, princes already ride on a white mule, right? That's what David did down when they crowned David, when they crowned Solomon king. King Solomon rode upon a white mule. Okay. Anyway, 30, and it came to pass while they were in the way, the tidings came to David, saying, Absalom has slain all the king's sons, and there is not one of them left. So imagine right here, when David heard this, the first thing came to his mind was what he done with Absalom. I mean, with Uriah, right? So look what he do. Then the king arose, tore his garment, and laid on the earth, and all the servants stood by with their clothes rent. Now here you go. This is the clown that started the whole thing. Just the same way that David handled Uriah. Now look at this. 32. And Jonadab. This is the clown that started it. Jonadab, the son of Shema, David's brother, answered and said, let not my Lord, see that? Let not, he the one behind it. Let not my Lord suppose that they have slain all the young men, the king's sons, for Amon only is dead. He know Amon only one dead because you the one wind him up to do it. And if you wicked right here, you've been talking to Absalom. You know what Absalom is gonna do. But you ain't gonna tell David about it. Okay? So it says, and Jonadab, the son of Shema, David's brother, answered and said, let not my Lord suppose that they have slain all the young men of the king's sons, for Amon only is dead. For by the appointment of Absalom, this have been determined. See that? Determined from the day that he forced his sister Tamar. You the one told him to rape Tamar. See? And now, therefore, let not my Lord, the king, take the thing to his heart and think that all the king's sons are dead, for Amon only is dead. But Absalom fled, and the young men that kept the watch lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, there came much people by the way of a hillside beyond him. And Jonadab said unto the king, behold, the king's sons come, and thy servant said, so it is. And it came to pass, as soon as he had made an end to speaking, that behold, the king's sons came and lifted up their voices and wept, and the king also and all his servants wept very sore. But Absalom fled and went to Timah, right? So anyway, so you see that? So the exact same thing in disrespect that David had for Uriah, he came right back on it. With this dude right here, Jonadab. He came right back. He told him the sword gonna be in your house. You took the sword and you killed Uriah. So it came right back in his house. And like I said, this ain't the only thing. Absalom slept with all his wives and put a tent up in the middle of Jerusalem, slept with all David's wives, ran David out of the city. We're going to get to that later on. You keep reading 2 Samuel. So, any comments? Or anybody ever heard about this story?
Yes, that's a doozy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what recompense is. If you want to ever know what recompense is, go to 2 Samuel chapter 13. That's how the Lord of hosts works. So that's why you have to weigh all the options out before you go do some wicked ass stuff. Because it's coming back. You're looking for one thing, but what you can indulge yourself in coming back on your head. He's the God, the El of recompense. Okay. So, with that being said, anybody else got anything else? Any comments or anything they want to bring up? You're gonna put that video into Messenger.
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay, yeah. So, with that being said, everybody be expecting that video to come through Messenger, and then we're gonna distribute it around where everybody can look at it and check it out. Like I said, you got 3 days to look at it and write down all your strong points. Okay. So with that being said, let me hit this line over here. I'm gonna say shalom, everybody. I enjoyed everybody for the Sabbath. I'll see everybody on Tuesday for our advanced Bible study at 8 o'clock. Shalom.
Shalom.